Hey everyone, Joshua Kirk here with you once again. Now it's time for episode 202 of Album of the Day, in which before we get into today's review, I'd like to give a shout out to Justin Trawick. Of course, I'm wearing his shirt for his band, Justin Trawick and the Common Good. He's hosting the Circus Life Live 5-year anniversary show at the 9:30 Club tonight, which I will be there to introduce a band called the Bumper Jacksons, and thanks to Justin for all his support and having me on his podcast multiple times, which soon I'm supposed to be on there sometime this summer, even though it's got a different setup than before. Yeah, shout out to you, Justin. Thanks for all your support all these years. Anyway, let's get on with the review. Today's artist is a Texas-based country singer and songwriter who sort of became popular in 2013 with her album Same Trailer, Different Park, and sort of over the years has become a very critically heralded young country singer by the name of Kacey Musgraves. I'm here to review her most recent studio album, which just dropped on May 30th of 2018. The album is called Golden Hour, and as you can see, I own it on vinyl here. And this album seems to be the most critically acclaimed country album of the year, and for good reason. Because I, personally love this album too. In fact, I actually have to say it's my favorite album of the year right now. And it's a very possible contender for my #1 of the year at the end of the year, depending on if something unexpectedly replaces this. But yeah, this is such a great album. And there's the back. Really like the album cover. There's 13 songs on this album. It clocks in at over 46 minutes, so very well-rounded, not too long, not too short record. For producers on this album, we have Kacey herself, along with Daniel Tashian and Ian Fitchuk, who also serve as co-writers on the album too. And this album actually has a little bit of an indie rock sort of feel on this album, because Sean Everett actually did some of the mixing on here too. And he's mixed a lot of my favorite indie albums from last year. And this is a little foreword and really nice psychedelic art going on. And there's the liner notes, and these aren't the lyrics, but rather the, instrumental, production, and mixing, and writing credits of all 13 tracks. And it came with a download card, which of course I used it, because download cards really have been very essential, in my opinion, to getting a vinyl. There's side A. And then there's side B. This is on a clear vinyl, which is kind of cool. So yeah, that's the vinyl packaging for the new Kacey Musgraves record, Golden Hour. And of course, I actually have known her in person before, because I got invited by her boyfriend at the time, a few years ago, to a concert that she was playing at Merriweather. Of course, his name is Misa. Met her and her band. Were very nice people. I never really listened to a full album of hers, but kind of was still aware of her, and because I heard, some people saying this was a really good album, including my friend who writes for Uprocks, Philip Sosores, who told me this is his album of the year right now. I decided to check it out, and I'd have to say I'm very glad that I did, because like I said, this is like my favorite album of the year right now, and also definitely my favorite country record of the year right now. Like for like what Sturgill Simpson provided with A Sailor's Guide to Earth in 2016, Kacey Musgraves provided with Golden Hour in 2018. No, it's not a super political outlaw country sort of thing, but rather it's a very beautiful, immersive, optimistic sort of collection of country pop anthems. There's also definitely some elements of. It's definitely a very genre-bending record. So besides country, you have elements of pop, rock, and like I said, there's some trace indie elements in here too. It's in here too, and stuff like that. And also, I think her songwriting is on this album is some of her most optimistic and some of her most personal and mature, and definitely optimistic, without being cheesy or self-indulgent or anything like that. So you could dismiss this album as being kind of lightweight, but personally, I think this is a really, this is a much-needed progression for Kacey Musgraves right here. I love the opening track, Slow Burn. It opens up with these very beautiful finger-picked guitars, and of course Kacey's very expressive vocal, which just sort of really sort of pulls you in right away. Sort of talking about how she's always been late in her life, and she hasn't been early since '88. So she's sort of referring to the only time she's really been in a hurry was on the day she was born and stuff like that. But sort of feeling okay with kind of everything in life being kind of a slow, patient burn for her. And you can hear that sort of acceptance that she's feeling, and the sort of beauty that she's finding in lyrics like the bar down the street doesn't close for an hour. We should take a walk and look at all the flowers. And then of course it builds up with all this really beautiful instrumentation, some string arrangements on the track, some really nice rhythmic drums and bass, atmospheric keyboards, and of course that really nice banjo, which I think the banjos on here definitely have plenty of kick to them, and they don't just sound generic and boring. They seem to be kind of used as a crutch on several country songs here on the radio. And then we have some really good singles on this record, we have the song Butterflies, which has a very instantly catchy banjo and synth hook, that I definitely, it really does drive this song home for me, and really does give it a nice sort of driving catchiness to it, along with its kind of playful piano, and it's sort of a song about being in a relationship and sort of feeling so drawn to someone, and sort of realizing how it feels to fly. So you're so attached to someone that that they give you butterflies and make you feel somewhat nauseous. So when you're around them, because they sort of take you out. This character has sort of taken her out of her chrysalis and stuff like that. And of course, it's got a fantastic chorus and I'm hearing vocoder on her vocals at certain moments on this track. And some other great singles on here are the song Space Cowboy is probably the most purely country song on this album, but it's definitely got some very smart lyrics, and I like her reference, and I love her reference to the gold rush in the line of, "After the gold rush, is there any reason to stay? should have learned in the movies that good guys don't run away. Sort of telling this person that she's probably broken up with, sort of saying, you can have your space, but I am not going to fit you in, and stuff like that, sort of trying to leave more room for her own situations and whatnot. And of course, I love the production on this song, like the definitely purely country instrumental really does sound nice. You have percussion that kind of sounds like cowboy boots a little bit, boy boots, as well as some like catchy keyboard playing on the track. And then High Horse is also like the lead single off of this album, which I first heard the song from an SNL performance back in May, and initially I wasn't really a huge fan of the track, but when I, went to go listening to the full record and got to this song, it really grew on me to the point where now it's like one of my favorites on the album. I mean, it has an incredibly catchy chorus. And I love hearing her break out into her very passionate, sort of very optimistic falsetto on here. There's definitely some very clever lyrics on here where she talks about this person who is sort of like classic in the wrong way, who's trying to be the next John Wayne and sort of not really keeping his life in perspective, and sort of telling him that she's seen enough and, just giddy up and ride straight out of this town, you and your high horse. And also some great production on this song. I love that kind of tremolo guitar riff, which definitely has an indie rock sort of feel to it. And there's also some, and also love the use of like the mellotron strings and the nylon string guitars. There's also some real strings on the track too. And then of course there is that really nice welcoming banjo at the end, which I think sounds really nice. Anyway, I'm going to get into some deeper cuts here on this record. We have the second track, Lonely Weekend, which is sort of a song about she sort of feels lonely because her significant other is like getting out of town and she only has like a couple other friends in town, so she feels somewhat kind of sad that he's going away, but at the same time sort of kind of learning to really appreciate her occasional solitude and stuff like that, and sort of talking about how it's definitely like how she thinks she'll be by herself a lot of the time, but seems okay with it because of some of the because even if you have someone that you love in your life, they're still gonna have some flaws that you kind of need a little vacation from sometimes. And of course, great chorus. Daniel Tashian puts on there some beautiful harmonies on there. It's definitely a good like pop and rock sort of tinged song, which I would say there's definitely those kind of elements in this album too. But then we have elements of electronic music in the track Oh What a World, thanks to its beautiful kind of chilly vocoder on the track. Along with some good like atmospherics and stuff like that in the production, which makes its imagery of northern lights and stuff like that very kind of beautiful. And even the banjo has some extra little production pizzazz to it, while still having that kind of backwoods country vibe to it. And sort of finding herself in this world with like some new magical colors as she learns to sort of be a little more kind of open-minded to what life has to offer, but sort of adding on there that these are real things and it's not just me trying to fluff things up or anything like that. things, and this is hard to believe, all this magic that's around me. Um, around me. Then we do have some really beautiful piano ballads on this album, including the short minute and a half "Mother," which does manage to really tie the album together really nicely. Sort of talking about hopefully my tears don't freak you out. Just kind of coming out. She's feeling some empathy for her mother because she lives so far away from which it's definitely very beautiful and almost comforting to sort of hear that sentiment coming from her. And then, of course, another great piano ballad is the last song on the record, Rainbow, which is definitely the poppiest song on this album, but like really beautiful because she's sort of bringing a kind of positive message to those who are sort of feeling a lot of tension and this all around pain about our world. Listen to this song, and I guarantee you it'll make you feel better. Better because of its message of how even in darkness there's always been a rainbow under your head. So it definitely is a hit me in the feels kind of moment for me on this album. Love is a Wild Thing is a track that sort of talks about how once again, like even in a world full of darkness and like just all around just kind of inequality and stuff like that. You still like even if you try to hide love, it's gonna shine even more, and you'll find that it's in more places than you think, like in the flowers and in the concrete. And you also can hear it in the melody when the Nightbird sings. Definitely one of the best choruses on the album, which that build that the song makes definitely is really like welcoming to me. One to have the incorporation of banjo and vocal harmonies as well as the use of some other cool instruments, including Celeste, along with a really nice synth solo towards the end of the song too, sort of showing how it is a country album, but it is willing to sort of push its boundaries a little bit, while still appealing to pretty much your typical country fan. The song Happy and Sad is one of my favorite tracks on this album, sort of talking about how there's definitely a sense of introspection and kind of melancholy to some of these songs, and I think this song is a perfect example of that, sort of talking about how like even in like the happiest moments of your life, there's still kind of a sense of kind of disappointment and like sadness to it as well, because like everything that must, she like never felt this far off of this ground, and sort of realizing how everything that goes up must come down, and she doesn't want to come down. So it's definitely an introspection that I think a lot of people can relate to, and it can be applied to any situation. Like, I kind of look at this as a song taking place like at a party, like in a bar or something like that. But this could be applied to any situation. Like, it could be like a house party or something like that. So it can really be it can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And also, I love the production on this song. I think it's really interesting. It's a mix of like programmed beats and electronics and stuff like that, mixed with a kind of a sort of southern rocky sort of vibe going on. So there's been some heated debates whether this is a country album or not, but Like, I like how Kacey, despite all this sort of, you know, sort of arguing about its genre and stuff like that, she's just letting it all go and making just a great record, and whatnot. Another highlight of me follows right after this track, the song Velvet Elvis, which at first, I first wasn't really a huge fan of this song when I first heard it. I thought its lyrics and references to Elvis I thought were a little cheesy at first, but the song really has grown on me to the point where I find these lyrics pretty clever, wanting this kind of love song that goes on till the end of time. And it kind of makes me laugh hearing lyrics like "Come with you in powder blue and tease my hair up high," of course referring to the Elvis do. This do, and I think it's really beautiful how, this tale of love sort of gets its title from a legendary painting by a legendary piece of art by Andy Warhol, the Velvet Elvis. The Velvet Elvis. And also, really fantastic production on this song. There's some programmed strings and vibraphone, which I think colors the song nicely. You have the rhythmic, classical guitars. It's cool guitars, and I do really like that mix of acoustic and electronic drums, that sort of boom sound. It sounds really cool in that chorus. And I love that guitar solo, which has plenty of fuzz to it, that it really reminds me of indie rock almost. Rock almost. The song Wonder Woman is a song that makes sort of similar themes to Space Cowboy, making references to Wonder Woman, the legendary superhero character. But sort of talking about how there's this person in her life that just wants her to be like this really powerful woman figure and be like Wonder Woman and stuff like that. But I like how she sort of honestly says that, I can't give you everything that I want, can't give you everything that you want, because I'm not like Wonder Woman. I'm just a typical human being that just wants to kind of live a normal life and not be controlled by what other people are telling me to be, but it's also kind of, it's nice of her to say, if I let you down, I'm sorry. So it's kind of one of those moments where you're just like, aw, and stuff like that. But of course, without being too corny or anything like that. In a way that's still has plenty of her music's definitely kind of had a sense of sort of introspection and kind of self-deprecation still, a little bit, and I really like the way the production sounds on this song too. The keyboards and the drum machine really work well amongst the very kind of natural acoustic and electric guitars. And of course it does open up with a really nice banjo hook, just as you'd expect. The last song that I want to highlight is the second to last track, which is the title track, Golden Hour. Golden Hour. Definitely sort of a nice little, almost second to last conclusion for the theme of this album. She's found love and found this person that she considers her golden hour. And despite all the flaws about this person, all the kind of rough times they kind of went through, in the end everything is okay, and thing is okay now that we're together, regardless And like a golden hour can mean a lot of different things for different people. It can mean like being around your friends or your family, or being in that sort of place in your life where you feel like this is where you want to be, and stuff like that. My golden hour for me is like being with friends and family and stuff like family, and just sort of and also like sort of doing something with purpose in my life, and kind of being confident in myself and stuff like that. So this album, I think, is a very inspirational record for me in that sort of way. And also because Kacey really does come through with definitely her most fully consistent album to date, in my opinion. I've heard a few songs off of Same Trailer, Different Park, and really liked some of the stuff I heard from there. Didn't really listen to her album Pageant material from 2015. Might have to check that out sometime. So Golden Hour is really my first full Kacey Musgraves album, but definitely a very rewarding listen, I must say. So it makes sense to me why a lot of critics are loving it. I mean, even Pitchfork wrote a positive review for this album, which was very unexpected, considering how kind of, critical they tend to be of country music, and stuff like that. So that's really saying something for definitely a very sort of well-rounded piece of country pop gold. I wouldn't call it pop country, but it definitely has plenty of good pop sensibilities to pair with its kind of country vibes. So I definitely give this album a strong 9 out of 10. It's a bold statement, but yeah, you definitely gotta check out this record. It's so good. Anyway, that's my review for Golden Hour, the new album from Kacey Musgraves. I'll see you for episode 203.